Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to a special edition of the Brian Crombie Radio Hour on Valentine's Day on Saga 960. And I want to invite back to the show Maria Fudas, who is an author of a great book about connect with ourselves and others, an incredibly interesting book about relationships. She is an expert on relationships, on connections. She's an author. She's a coach. She's at times a reader of cards. Really quite an interesting young lady. And so, Maria, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Brian, and happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day. So we're going to talk about relationships today. Obviously, given Valentine's Day, it's completely appropriate. And what you told me was that everyone we meet for a purpose. Do you really believe that?
Definitely, I believe that. And I remember you in one of your closings, you actually made a comment that you said, what was it exactly? You said everybody comes in your life for a reason, a season, or for a lifetime, basically, right? So it's exactly that. Everybody we meet, everybody that comes into our lives, I believe, is divinely timed and planned by the, it's almost like an assignment that's put into our lives to help us learn and grow. Because after all, this is Earth School, right? So help us
divinely timed and planned. Seriously?
Yeah, honestly, I really do believe, because I believe the universe is magical. So whether you want to call it God, the source, there's different names. But basically, there's this great intellectual, invisible energy that's around us, that we're all connected with, that kind of navigates, I believe, everything. It's almost like little, like little puppets. We're co-manifestors. But I believe everything is kind of organized with our manifestations and with our karmas and with our fate and everything kind of intertwined, who we're going to meet, and depending on what place we are and what where we find ourselves at a certain moment, who we are at that moment, what we need. And everybody that we meet, and if you look back in your past relationships, they come in to either fulfill one of the three needs that we all have. It's either an emotional need, a spiritual need, or a physical needs at times, right? So there's always a reason they come in. And sometimes it's just the lessons. Sometimes we're left with lessons. And that's the other thing, we could talk that towards the end when, you break up with everybody. Obviously, everybody can't be the one, right? So a lot of people get, during Valentine's, there might be a lot of single people too, just to recognize that, it's okay. It's okay if you're alone or you're single at the moment, if you're broken up. Not everybody's going to be your person. And it's important to recognize the asset that you are, the value that you have, that you bring into a relationship, and be okay with that. That will augment yourself, your energy, in order to be able to bring better partners in your as the future. Because who we bring in really is also a mirror image of who we are at that given time. So the better we become, the better our partners become at that time. So that's something to keep in mind. But definitely, everybody comes in for one of the three reasons: emotional, spiritual, or a physical reason, and to learn, grow, and heal.
Well, Einstein supposedly said at one point in time that coincidences are God's way of staying anonymous. And so I've always liked that whether it's Mother Nature or the universe, God, something or other, as you talk about, there's a divine reason why you meet absolutely everyone in life. And I think that different people do add different things to your life. And the way that you break it down to emotional, spiritual, or physical is kind of interesting. And some people provide more than one of those three things to your life. I think this is a really good conversation to have for Valentine's Day. And so thank you very much for sharing your thoughts with us. Remind us what the title of your book is and where people can get it.
Okay, so it's Connect with Yourself and Others. It is behind me, but also here's the book. I have a little bookmark. Connect with Yourself and Others. It's you can find it anywhere books are sold, basically Amazon, Chapters, Indigo, mostly online. So you could go online. It's available at iBooks as well. If you want to buy it, it's on iBook through Apple. It's ebook, paperback, or you could always send me a message through my social medias under Maria Fudas. I'm on all the social medias, and send me a message, and I'll send you a signed autograph from my collection.
Maria Fudas, author of Connect with Yourself and Others. Thank you so much. We're going to take a break for some messages and be back with Maria on a special Valentine's Day relationship-oriented conversation in just 2 minutes. Stay with us, everybody. Welcome back, everyone, to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour on Saga 960. Happy Valentine's Day, everyone. Happy Valentine's Day to Maria Fudas. She is our guest tonight talking about relationships. Maria, how'd you get into writing a book about relationships?
Honestly, Brian, I really felt it was a part of my destiny. I really felt the calling. It's almost like I was putting it off for quite a while, writing it, and then finally, it's almost like it was like an inspiration through my spirit. It kept gnawing at me and saying, "Oh, you got to write it. You got to write it." And it really came because, as I'm an assertiveness coach, transformational, and a lot of people that I found that came to me were for relationships, and it was common. It was a commonality. The commonality was that they were looking outside themselves to kind of get that relationship, to get that perfect person, and they were always looking outside instead of really going within themselves. And the questions were always kind of the same. So that's why I felt it. It was kind of inspired. It was like I had to write it to kind of give it out to the universe for people could have it easily access, because the coaching is a little bit more expensive, just easily access, like under $20. Or if it's an ebook, it's like under $10, where somebody could access it and just get the basics of how to better yourself, to become whole as yourself, in order to attract those better relationships, to heal yourself first, because it all starts from there. So it's really like a calling. It's almost like I had to write it.
What is an assertiveness coach?
So assertiveness is a way of being, but also a way of speaking. It's a mode of communication. And it's really, assertiveness allows you to be confident. It allows you to be authentic. That's primarily it. It allows you to be your authentic self in order to get your needs met in a way where you're communicating in a way where that's the primary thing, though, too. Communicating in a way that takes your rights and the other person's rights into consideration. Because after all, in relationships, the two key fundaments are awareness, which is basically self-awareness when it comes to relationships. And the other key fundament is communication. So, and assertiveness is exactly what the essence of that. It's having awareness, self-awareness, and having communication where you're taking your rights, the other person's rights, and recognizing when the other person, when there's a conflict. I remember reading something, when there's conflict, there's 5 things that basically in conflicts makes people argue or grow apart, is defensiveness, where one of them is defensiveness. And defensiveness comes from not being assertive, communicating assertively. If you're communicating where you're always putting the other person in a defensive manner, where you're communicating and telling the other person they're doing things wrong, then it's just an automatic behavior or reaction that the other person's going to become defensive. So that will eliminate the conflict errors that people make when they're having a conversation, in order to enable their relationships, to navigate their relationships to be better. And defensiveness was one of them. And then, condemnation, of course, that's not good. Being in contempt to
no,
not
condemnation would not be good. No.
Yeah, condemnation, or holding people or being in contempt towards the other person, basically, which is kind of the same thing. Not respecting. And assertiveness is respecting the other person, whether you agree with them or not. And assertiveness really is when it comes in handy when you don't agree with the other person, when you do have a disagreements. And that's when it's important to be your authentic self, to get your needs met, to say how you feel, because otherwise it's going to break down anyways, because then you're going to have resentments. And also for the other person to know. And this way you also allow the other person to come forth and say how they feel. So you could open the means of communication and not hold the resentments and become defensive and all that stuff that causes problems in the relationship. So it's key. It's the key fundament. Key fundament is communication and self-awareness. And that's really what assertiveness is.
And if people want to take your assertiveness coaching, they just contact you and they can get coached either online and in person, and how to become more assertive?
Yes, definitely. And I have a 12-session program, which I've put together. And it's the methodology is amazing. I put it together through all my years of coaching now. And it's a fine-tuned methodology, which works every single time, where it helps the person come in totally, novice, and then leaving with the tools to be assertive. So it's three things that I have within the program. One is assertiveness, how to communicate and become assertive and confident and all that stuff. The other concept is it's spirituality. It's about connecting with your own spirit, your own self. That's really what it is. And the third aspect is brain training. That's where really, training our brain, our mind to think differently, to think more positively, and to own our power, to recognize when we're acting from somebody out of our frame, basically, and out of somebody else's beliefs or fears, or leaving our power to someone else. So it has all those 3 concepts, and together it's magical.
Magical. Sounds good. Maria, you told me that you didn't think there were any failed relationships. Really? Seriously? There's no failed relationships?
Well, I've got to know. I've been married twice, so I don't believe any of the relationships were failed. The first one, I was really, really young, and that taught me. Basically, I grew up. It was 18, 19. It was just. I believe it was just a way for me to become a woman, or just to get to basically get to know myself a little better and
You
get
got
my
married at
independence.
18?
Yeah, that's for another show. And then I got married later when I was in my late 20s, close to 30, and I have a beautiful set of twins out of that marriage. And my ex and I, because I've learned these tools for myself, and that's really why I became a coach, because I needed everything I teach. I had to learn for myself. So I had to learn all this for myself. And my ex and I are very. I could say he's one of my best friends right now. So I wouldn't have been able to do that if I didn't learn all the tools for myself, to be able not to take things personally, not to be defensive, and also how to communicate, not to allow the other person to feel that they have to take things personally, or to feel bad about themselves. So that's key, and and that's why I have a good relationship. But nothing is a failed relationship. Besides what it brings to you, but it also, every relationship. If you look back, every single relationship, whether it was a girlfriend or somebody you met, and every relationship, when I mean, it could be children, it could be your parents, it could be your. It doesn't necessarily have to be just romantic relationships. Every single relationship has brought us to, has helped with our evolution.
You said that
So
they helped us. Each relationship helps us learn, grow, and or heal.
exactly,
Why
and
heal?
exactly, and what I want everybody to look at as a relationship, really, what it is to look at it as a learning and healing center. It's an emotional and spiritual learning and healing center. So, of course, to grow, we grow. It helps us grow and learn. And it helps us grow and learn because I'll do the healing after, or should I do the grow first then? Because I'm there. Is that okay?
No, go for learning.
Yeah, so it helps us learn and grow because in a way, we're all diamonds in a rough, right? So we all have the potential to be strong and to grow from the inside out. So, but how do we get there? We don't get there when things are easy, correct? Like how do diamonds become diamonds? They become diamonds with a lot of pressure and put on them. So that's exactly like us. We grow so the relationships that people might think are failures or didn't go well, those are the relationships that actually helped in our most potential in growth. Because it's when somebody like kicks you in the gut or yells at you or forces you to go within yourself and react. Those are the people that have actually helped in your growth the most. And then to go to the healing, definitely healing. I mean, they help us heal. A lot of times, a lot of people go into the relationships looking to be healed, whether it's after a breakup or a bad relationship. A lot of people go in there hoping, okay, this is going to be the one, and this is going to be better, and they're hoping to heal. And that's one of the reasons they go in. And if you look at it, Brian, like this center was founded at birth. This growth and healing center was founded at birth with a relationship with the mother or parent and child. I mean, if you look back, I know my children, when they were little, they get, a little scrape and they'd say, "Mommy, boo-boo." And then I'd kiss the boo-boo away and they'd feel all better. That's healing, right? That's a way of healing. So as we grow older, things don't change.
You still want a mummy to kiss your boo-boo.
Yeah, exactly. But it shows up in different ways now. You still want to be healed, but you want to be healed emotionally. You want to be healed spiritually. And a lot of times we go in to heal our subconscious fears because we don't even know. And that's why, unfortunately, we act and react in a certain way. People haven't done work on themselves. They don't know what their subconscious fears are. So that's another way we go in to try to have the partner or the person in our lives help us heal that, because maybe they'll be able to see something we don't. And just to add to that, even the word heal, actually, if people look up in the dictionary, and it comes from the Germanic, an ancestry origin. And what it means is to make whole. Really, that's what heal is, right? To become better, and it means to make whole. So what I urge everybody is to become whole, right? To help their partners become whole, because it's one of the primary needs we all have. But it's also to make themselves whole, because not everybody has the capacity to help you heal or to heal themselves. So if you make yourself whole, if we make ourselves whole, then even if the other partner at a certain moment is not able to heal or help us heal, we'll be able to give out a little bit more to them so we can help them heal. So it starts with self. Help yourself grow, heal yourself, and then you're able to help your partner heal as well. And then together, you can navigate and have better relationships.
You said that one of the objectives of the healing center is to be loved unconditionally and for forgiveness. Explain loved unconditionally.
And Brian, one of our primary needs, basic needs, is to be loved unconditionally. And that's what people don't realize, and that's where criticism, avoid the three C's, criticizing, condemning, or complaining about things that are minuscule. Everybody, every single person, you, me, every single person in this world wants to be loved unconditionally. And we have to do it consciously.
But people make mistakes. People do things wrong. Do they deserve to be loved unconditionally?
Yes, and loved unconditionally. I'm talking about first. I'm talking about your partner. If you're choosing a partner and you want to be successful and you love that partner, you have to love them unconditionally. That's where I'm going with. I'm not talking about somebody that's what do you call it? That's abusing you. Correct? Forgiveness. We'll talk about forgiveness. Forgiveness is for everybody. But love unconditionally. I mean, you have to love. You love your children unconditionally. Correct? You have to love them unconditionally. I mean, you can't say, I don't love you because you didn't finish school or you didn't do this. Sorry, you didn't do this. You have to love them unconditionally. So that's where the unconditional is. So it's not any different with a partner. If you choose a partner and you have to love them unconditionally. Otherwise, it's not true love. It's not real love. And you've got to do it. And
you have to love them unconditionally. Otherwise, it's not true love. Seriously?
Yes,
really?
because then I believe then you're acting out of self. It doesn't mean.
But so many people have got these this checklist, the 10 things that they need. So it's almost that you got to meet all these conditions before I love you.
See, and when people have conditions, it's because they're inadequate within themselves. So when you have conditions, then it's because you're looking that within yourself. So I mean, sure, there's certain things you might want in a partner to seek. That's a little bit different. But once you choose that partner and you're compatible, then you have to decide consciously if you're going to make this work to love that person unconditionally. That's what I'm referring to. I'm not referring by every single stranger you meet. But once you choose, you meet someone, you say, you know what, I really like this person. We have chemistry. We're good. Then you have to make the commitment. And then it's the three things: commit to collaborate consciously. And you have to do it consciously to commit and love that person unconditionally, whatever the flaws are, and say, okay, well, that's okay. This is what their flaws are. And Brian, it's all about synergy, right? It's all about working together. And what does synergy mean? What does it mean in team when you're working in teams or in business? It means to collaborate, to work. Synergy means to work together. It means to take each other's weaknesses and work with them. It means to augment their strengths, but it also means to celebrate their differences, right? Celebrate each other's differences and respect them. And that's what really loving unconditionally means. It's respecting them and celebrating the differences and saying, okay, this is how they are, but that's okay. And that's how you'll make the relationship work. Otherwise,
so, I understand love unconditionally with a child. I completely understand that. But you think that there's really unconditional love that's achievable in a relationship with a man and a woman?
Definitely. If you go to that your higher self, that's the only way it's going to work. And when I look back at my stuff too, that's how it works. But it has to go both ways, correct? I mean, because we all have that need. See, because it's a basic human need that people don't recognize. It's a basic human need. So we need it too. You need it. So recognize that every single person needs it. Then you have to consciously do it. To love the other person unconditionally, sure you can. It's a conscious choice, not to nitpick for every little thing. And, whether they've gained a little bit of weight or, they have a couple of wrinkles or, they don't feel good one day and they don't look good. And you're saying, oh my God, you sound, or you eat weird. You could help them. You could say, listen, you could help them, like augment their strengths. What do we say? Augment their strengths and their weaknesses you could work with. But it doesn't mean you don't love them unconditionally. See the difference? It doesn't mean you like everything. I mean, I don't like everything. Maybe with your kids or my kids, you might not like everything.
But you still love them, no matter what.
You still love them unconditionally. It's a difference, right? It's not liking everything.
You said
but you gotta love them unconditionally.
You said forgiveness was different than unconditional love. How is that different?
And forgiveness is a little bit different because forgiveness, I believe, we need to forgive first of all for ourselves, and then for relationships. Obviously, you have to forgive in order to move on. But forgiveness is really for self because you can't move on. You can't be happy. You can't be in a good relationship if you don't forgive them. If they've done something, whether they've got straight in a marriage or they've done something to hurt your feelings, or they've had a problem with your family. If you don't forgive, you can't move on. So you need the forgiveness. But and I said it's a little different because in that kind of forgiveness, I mean, I believe it's important to even forgive people that have done really horrible things to you. And when I say that kind of forgiveness, I don't mean you have to condemn or like what they did. It just means that you forgive for yourself and you forgive their soul. You forgive that little baby that came from the origin of the universe, from God, came from, you know, from heaven, whatever you want to believe in, and came into this world, was an innocent little child. So forget that child that doesn't know any better, because somebody that hurts you really doesn't know any better. And once you recognize that people that are mean, people that are mean or hurtful, really it's because they don't know any better. They're acting out of ego. They're not acting out of their higher self. They haven't done work with themselves. They don't love themselves unconditionally. And it's coming out from the inside out. It's coming out, that hatred that they feel for themselves and the meanness they feel for themselves comes out to the other person. But once you truly understand that we're all the same, we're connected, and that, you know, hating you is ultimately hating myself.
What?
So instead
How
of
is hating you being hating me? I don't understand that.
Because energy is energy. So if I have the energy of hate, then it's coming from somewhere, correct? Because at any given time, what people don't recognize also is that we're always projecting what's inside of us. Every single person is always projecting, whether it's you, me, or somebody else. So when you see somebody being mean and hurtful, they're really projecting what's inside of them. So whatever somebody's saying or doing, it's a really a little window to who they are within themselves. And that's an insight I teach my clients. And it's so powerful once you recognize that. So someone that doesn't have the capacity to forgive or to be nice to people or to be loving, it's because they don't feel that within themselves. Because somebody that's at peace within themselves and recognizes we're all the same and we're here to learn and grow, and this is really an earth school, then recognizes that. I heard one of your other closings saying that, you know, life is short. Enjoy it. It's, you know, enjoy life, and don't sweat the small stuff, kind of, you know what I mean? And if people are hurtful, just send them some energy and say, listen, you know, that's it on you. I'm not taking that on me. And, you know, sometimes when you look back at some past relationships too, you're like, oh my God, thank God this didn't work out, right? Because you're like, you see how it evolves. And the only reason why you see it is because you've evolved. So once we evolve and we grow and we become better people within ourselves, connected more to our higher self, then we're able to see more clearly.
So
we can't see it.
You really honestly believe that everyone we meet for a purpose, whether it be emotional, spiritual, or physical, and that there are no failed relationships, that every relationship we go through helps us learn, grow, and or heal.
100%. And if I look back at every single relationship, every whether it was a short relationship, a long relationship, whether it was work, every single relationship came in at the specific time that I needed them to come in for a certain reason. And most of the time it's for growth, right? Or certain times it could be physical. You're lonely or something and you need someone to fill that void at that moment. And it's not necessarily, you know, it's not going to be the one, but they fill that void at that certain time. But they come at a certain time because you're manifesting. You want, that's what you need at that moment. It comes to fulfill a certain need. And 100% I believe that. Yes.
You know, I do like that line, and I'm not sure where I heard it, but that everyone in your life is there for a season, a reason, or a lifetime, and that not everyone is a lifetime, but there are other ones that are there for a season or a reason. And I guess that's consistent with what you're saying.
Yes, and once you do feel that, you know, somebody they're connected, then that's when it's important to make that commitment. And then, because once you make the commitment, is really to help you recognize, okay, now I'm going to make the commitment to consciously collaborate with this person, to collaborate where it's not me and you anymore, it's us. So that's what the other important thing or aspect is when if you're going to get into a relationship, that you do that. Otherwise, it's going to fail. If it's always me and you, then you're not allies. You're becoming like, you're more like one becomes the villain, one becomes the good person. So you can't have that in a relationship. It has to be synergy. It has to be us. Everything happens, you know, how is it going to affect you? How is it going to affect me? How is it going to affect both parties in order for it
you need to commit to collaborate consciously. Sounds great. We're going to take a break for some messages and come back in just 2 minutes with Maria Fudas and talk a little bit more about building successful relationships. Sounds like a pretty appropriate conversation for Valentine's Day. Stay with us, everyone. Back in 2 with Maria Fudas. Welcome back, everyone, to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour on Saga Night 60. We're having a special Valentine's Day edition of the Brian Crombie Radio Hour. Tonight, our guest is Maria Fudas, who is an assertiveness coach, a transformational coach. She's an author of a book called Connect with Yourself and Others, and we're talking about relationships. And we've had an interesting conversation so far, such that Maria believes that everyone we meet for a purpose, and that there are no failed relationships, that every relationship helps us learn, grow, and heal. But now we're going to switch, and we're going to talk a little bit about building successful relationships, which I think is what people really want to achieve in life, and probably appropriate for Valentine's Day. And you said that the key is synergy, that we've got to commit to collaborate consciously for the higher good of our relationship, that there's no me and you, only us. Explain that if you could.
Yes, and like I said earlier, when we're always about me, for example, if I'm thinking, oh, how is this going to serve me, or if the other partner is always thinking about them, and you're saying, and you're using terms like when you did this, what happens is it doesn't form a bond. It forms almost like a separation. And you're making, if one person is right and the other person is wrong, it means one person is the villain and one person is the good person. If you take like in a movie or something, and if you do that, the relationship won't work. You have to make conscious choice that it's us. That no matter what, it's going to be us. And everything you do has to be for the higher good of the relationship. That's the mentality you have to have.
The higher good of the relationship.
Yes. So it's exactly that. Let's say a team. Let's say the Raptors. How do they work? They work as a team for the higher good for the team to win. It's not any different with a relationship. If you want it to succeed, you have to commit to that. You have to say that no matter what, I'm going to work for the higher good. So that means if you're in a relationship with someone and at that moment they're angry or they're not feeling at their best and they're not able to collaborate and be and do all the right, the stuff we're talking about consciously, then that's when you take over. It's important that we take over and then say, okay, I'm going to take over. It's okay. Maria right now is, she's not consciously thinking, she's angry or whatever. That's important. At least that one person is still conscious. But also, if you're committing and you consciously do this, you might be angry for a little while, but then, once you snap out of it, it might take a couple of minutes, it might take an hour or whatever. You're gonna sit down. You're gonna say, hey, Maria, I'm really angry at this because we did this. Still knowing that it's for the higher good for the relationship. And that's where the basic needs come in play as well, because you have to also consciously then try to fulfill the partner's basic needs, where one of the primary ones is certainty and safety. So it's important.
Certainty and safety.
So if a partner doesn't feel they're safe in the relationship and they're afraid that every time I get angry, the person is going to leave or is going to have an affair or leave me, then it's hard to have that to be yourself and to allow the relationship to grow. So safety and certainty is actually the most primal need that everybody has, even children. It doesn't matter where it is, but in a relationship, it's just as important. So you have to do this consciously. Your partner has to feel safe to be themselves, to be angry, and that this way they'll be able to explain to you what it is. And then that's where communication starts, because that's the key fundament. If you don't have communication, the relationship will break up.
It's interesting. Instead of sort of the for richer, for poorer, for in sickness and in health, what you're saying is that when you're poor, I'm going to help you get over it. When you're sick, I'm going to help. So it's not that you just put up with it. It's that somehow you work together for the betterment of the whole.
Exactly. And when one person is, like you said, exactly what you said. And if one person is not able to do that at that moment because they are sick or they're lost their job, that's when it's important you go in and you fulfill that. And then vice versa, right? Because then it works both ways. And not to hold grudges and say, oh my God, I'm doing so much. But again, if you're always doing it, then you're going to have resentments. That's why it's important. It's important that two parties have that. Otherwise, it puts too much work on one person.
I find this interesting because I know numerous different relationships that have broken down when someone's lost a job and or no longer is making income or something like that. And that's the opposite of what you're describing. It's almost as if those people, they only loved the person as long as they were successful in making money. And if they went through a tough time, they weren't there to support, they were there to criticize and the end of the relationship.
Exactly, and that's what we're talking about. So if you go into the relationship for the wrong reasons, and not for the reasons which is the unconditional love, to make the commitment consciously that's always going to be us. No matter what happens, it's going to be us. You have to consciously make that commitment, for good or for bad, and then nurture the person. Everybody needs nurturing. Children, with little children, we need to be nurtured. We need to be told that we are good enough. The other basic human need, which is vital for relationships too, is to be appreciated and recognized, and to be nurtured. So, like you said, if you make the commitment and you truly love that person unconditionally, we go back to that, then you won't leave that person if they're sick, or if they gained a couple of pounds, or if they lost their job, because you're saying, this is my person. I'm going to stick with them. It doesn't mean it will be perfect all the time. It doesn't mean, there could be stuff that goes outside the marriage or whatever. But if you make the commitment, you will always go back and find common ground, and forgive each other, and say, for the higher good of the relationship, we will do this. But again, it takes two people, right? So the two people have to consciously make that commitment. So the problem is, what you're saying is, a lot of times it's one person making that commitment within themselves, not really out loud, not with each other, and the other person doesn't, or they go into the relationship to fulfill a need that's not really there. And it could be a basic need, because sometimes money or status could be a basic need, but it comes from a void. It comes
Well,
from
it sounds to me like
insecurity.
what you're describing is not unconditional love, but conditional love. It's love that's conditional on having that status, or having that money, or having that job, or having that whatever. Now, you were also going to talk about that everyone has needs and wants, and the 5 love languages. Tell us about that, if you could.
Yes. So there's 5 live languages, and of course, after we could talk, also there's also, I was looking at something on Instagram, Emily with Sex with Emily or something. She has even arousal languages, basically, and they're kind of like they go together, kind of. So the five love languages. Let me see if I remember them. I do have them written down. But one is always appreciation, right? It's affirmation, letting the other person know that you love them, and that they look good, and you desire them. Because everybody needs that, because everybody subconsciously has their limiting beliefs, whether they show it or not. So that's primary. That's number one. That's
Words of affirmation.
Affirmation. So and the 5 languages is, so it's also and you can have more than one, obviously, right? But it's also, it's important to recognize what the 5 languages are, and then explore them with your partner. Talk about it and say, hey, what is your love language? What is mine? So the other person is able to cater it, right? To cater to it, because otherwise they don't know. So do you like, for me, I do like affirmations and appreciation. And I think a lot of females probably do. That's one of the love languages. The other one is visual. A lot of people like pictures, or they like, sexy dress. And I could say probably men are more like that. It could be women too. So visual. Then the third one is
acts of service.
Acts of service. Like a lot of men love to do this. They like to change your tires or do things in the house. But they'll do this, and then the woman is like, oh, you don't love me. And he's like, what are you talking about? I just, fixed your car. I brought it to get it fixed. And she's like, well, yeah, I thought you had to do that. But for a guy, that's an act of service. He loves it maybe when the wife or the girlfriend makes dinner or cleans the house. So that's another form. But you have to understand that that's what that person is doing, and because what works for you might not work for me. And the other one is quality time, spending quality time together. Some people just like to spend time together in order to make more of an emotional a connection, in order for the need. That's their need, to more quality time, to do things together. So those are the five live languages. And then if you
didn't mention receiving gifts.
Yes, and receiving gifts. Sorry, yes, and receiving gifts is the other one. A lot, and I have some clients actually. I have some clients that come. One specific one that was coming to me, and she was upset because she wanted her boyfriend to get her a gift. And she says, "Listen, I want this watch or this ring or whatever." And she was very upset. And for me, because I'm not receiving gifts. Of course, I love to receive flowers and I love to receive gifts. But for me, it's not like the primary thing, because the person is showing me love in other ways. Then that's just the icing on the cake. But for some people, that's primary. And if he didn't give her this gift, it showed that he didn't love her.
I heard of someone that broke up over Christmas because they didn't get what they thought was an appropriate enough gift.
Yeah, and when I hear that, I'm a coach. When I hear that as a coach, I'm like, I'm not going to say that, but in my head, I'm like, it's crazy, right? Like, who cares? It's just materialistic stuff. But it's, for some people, it's real. Look you said. But then again, of course, that comes out to the fact that it's not unconditional love, right? So we go back to that. But once you have the unconditional love, this is important, because then you're catering to their needs. It's important. If you want the relationship to last, then it's important that you want your partner to be happy, correct? So if you want them to be happy, then you cater to what they want.
And so I think the key here is that not only should you understand your love languages, but that you understand the love languages of your partner. And so just to review, the 5 love languages are words of affirmation, acts of service, receiving gifts, quality time, and physical touch. And on this physical touch, you mentioned these 5 things that are sexual connection and arousal style. Tell us about those.
Yeah, so that's important too, to kind of know what arouses your partner once you're together, because that's, I mean, people want to talk about, but sex is kind of the glue that sticks the couple together at the end of the day. So, so it is important, and people sometimes don't talk about it, and they don't talk about it within themselves as well, with themselves, to understand what arouses their partner, what they want. So it's important to talk about that as well. And again, it kind of piggybacks off the love languages, I believe, anyways, because one is physical, right? One is obviously physical, meaning holding hands. Some people like to hold hands, and they like to be kissed on the neck, or it's more physical touch, or giving massages, which, and again, you can have more than one with this, because, of course, I mean, I don't know, I would say everybody loves to be hold hands and to be kissed and stuff like that, but maybe not everybody does. So yeah, so touch is one. The other one is play. Some people might like to play, could be just having fun and letting loose with people, but it could also be role play. That could be fun sometimes. I don't know. You could, pretend you're the maid or a nurse or something, right? So, hey, you could try anything. I think that could be fun. So that's another aspect that especially when you're in a relationship for a little while, you could try new things and see, and some people enjoy that, some people might not, and you can navigate things together. The other one is visual. So some people, would like you to come with a beautiful little red teddy now at Christmas, and a sexy underwear with stockings, maybe high heels, and that's what turns them on. So even if it's not your thing, if it's your partner's, that's where you kind of have to work together to say, okay, I'm going to do this for you, but this is what I want. So he could do the things for you, so to make things work. And the other thing, obviously, is conversation. And people forget this. Like, I go back to it. That's one of the primary things, because that's where the emotional connection is. A lot of people can't get to that unless they have that emotional connection. So, and this could be women, sometimes it could be men as well. In order to feel that emotional connection, they need that conversation to get that emotional connection before they could be sexually aroused. And the other one is the physical adventure, right? Some people like to do yoga together or dance. That maybe stimulates them. Dancing could be erotically, or could just dancing, or just going for a nice walk, or doing something physical will set them into that physical arousement state. So learn, and you could have more than one. So you could explore with your partner different ones, what they want, what you want, and this just makes it fun. And especially if you're in a relationship for a long time.
So just to review, the 5 different arousal styles or sexual connection styles, according to you, were touch, play, visual, conversation, and physical adventure.
So what's your preference there, Brian?
Oh gosh, that's a personal question. I think that one of the things that people talked about is arousal ahead of time, and I do think that some texting, whether that be conversation or just a flirtatious text, is very helpful, and kind of fun, and sometimes that's combined with a visual that is getting you sort of prepared and tells you that you're wanted, and that it builds anticipation. And then I think that conversation can be 2 things. Conversation can be ahead of time, and getting people to get in the mood, and to have that connection that you talked about. But I think conversation during an intimate time is helpful and important too, is it not?
Yes, and I mean, obviously, not exactly when you're doing the act, but sure, words, right? That's what people forget. You could say things like "you look beautiful," or "I love you," or "you turn me on," and that does bring the arousal up, I think, for people. So it doesn't have to be almost sitting there and saying, "Hey," complaining how your day was. So people, confuse.
Yeah, no, I don't think having stopping in the middle and asking how your day was,
yeah, exactly,
the boss, is the appropriate thing to do. I agree with that.
So let's get things.
I was thinking about other types of conversation, quite frankly.
Yeah, exactly. So that, sure, that, I mean, that does build, because it shows the connection. It shows that you're there with that person in that moment, and that's primary, right? You need to be in the moment in order to appreciate anything, whether it's, especially when it's sexual. If your mind is somewhere else and you're acting like a robot, I mean, you have to be within your body, within yourself, and committed to that in order for it to be fun for you and your partner, I think, anyways.
I do think this other thing that you mentioned about avoiding the 3 C's at the same time, whether it be in a relationship or in an arousal, sexual connection time period, or just in friendships, frankly, are key. Tell us, if you could, what these 3 C's are that we need to avoid.
Yeah, and you mentioned everything, Brian, but also with ourselves. That's what people forget. Like, we're our worst critics. We're our worst enemies. So criticizing is one of them. So it's criticizing, condemning, and complaining. But criticizing, it's a virus. It turns into a virus. Whether it's yourself or whether it's in a relationship, you start criticizing the other person. You look at it like in a computer, basically. When the virus takes over, it slowly takes over one program, and then it takes off over your whole computer. That's exactly what criticism does. If you do it on yourself, but also in the relationship. Ultimately, afterwards, you kind of, the relationship will break down, because you're criticizing the other person often and often enough. Then if I'm being criticized all the time, then I'm losing my self-esteem, my self-worth. I start believing certain things, and then eventually it's going to break down, because the other person is either going to not react and kind of stay and not be fun anymore, or they're going to leave, because I mean, nobody likes that, unless you like to be abused. And the other one is complaining. Forget about complaining. Like, if you don't like something, do something, find a solution instead. Saying, hey, Maria, you're working too much all the time. Instead, say, hey, Maria, let's find some time let's carve out some time to do something together. So complaining all the time is not something. Find a solution instead of complaining, because complaining doesn't do anything. So and eventually it becomes, the other person stops hearing you. You're a drama queen after a while, right? You keep complaining. And the third one we said condemning. Is condemning the other person, saying that you did this, it's because you're at fault, and disrespecting the other person and doing all that stuff. Of course, that's not going to work. How are you going to have a loving, unconditional relationship when you're doing that towards the other person? It's impossible. You can't. I mean, they might stick around, but it's not going to be. I'm thinking that most people want a loving, great, fun-loving relationship, and not just. I heard you say in one of your closings as well, not just, when it was one of my posts, I remember, not just surviving, but thriving, right? You want to, in a relationship, it's the same thing. You don't just want to survive in the relationship. You want to thrive. You want the relationship to thrive. You want to have fun in it. And how do you do that? You do that by communicating. If something isn't working, tell the other person what you feel and how you feel, because the other person might have no clue. Instead of condemning them that you're always doing this and this, instead of doing that, tell them what you want, right? Instead of saying you're working all the time, say, listen, I'd like to spend more time with you. So just say what you like, because don't put it on the other person, because how are they supposed to know?
Maria Fudas talking about relationships on Valentine's Day. Pretty appropriate. We're going to take a final break for some messages and come back. And Maria is going to tell us about what if we're single tonight, what we should be thinking about and feeling. Stay with us, everyone. Back in 2 minutes with Maria Fudas talking about relationships on Valentine's Day. Welcome back, everyone, to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour on Saga 960. We've got a special edition tonight for Valentine's Day talking about relationships. Our guest is Maria Fudas, who is a assertiveness coach. She's a transformational coach. She reads cards, which we've done in the past, and she's an author. She's written a book called Connect with Yourself and Others. Maria, to finish it off, you told me you wanted to talk about how you should feel, what your attitude should be if you're single tonight, which is, I think, challenging for a lot of people on Valentine's Day. What's your attitude?
Yeah, and for people that are single, it's just true. Always own your power is what I'm going to say. Own your power and stay in your frame, and just recognize, no matter what, that you're an asset. You've got to get into the mental state to recognizing and use the affirmation, telling yourself, "I am an asset," and repeat that. And look at what your needs are. And it's not always about if you're a woman or if you're a guy. But instead of like looking, I'm a woman, so instead of looking at what a guy wants and always kind of being needy and putting myself out there and trying to say, oh my God, he doesn't want me or he's not interested in me. Instead, go a little bit internal and see, does this person even feel the needs you have, which is the most important ones? Does he help in your growth, in your spiritual, emotional, and intellectual growth? If he's not, then just recognize this person wasn't for you and be okay with it. Be okay that every person is not going to be your person. Just be okay with it. Know that you're an asset. Every person is not your person. It's their loss because you're this fabulous asset that you have so much to offer. And if they don't recognize it, it's their loss. And
But
be
I
okay
think
with
that
it
your
again.
comment about there's no failed relationships is also key, because even if they're not the person that you're going to be with forever, they may have been an important part of your life. They may have taught you something. They may have been a great experience. They may have helped you grow. They may have healed you. They may have added something into who you are. So not every relationship that you have has to be forever, because by definition, that's not possible.
Exactly, and 100%. And if you could also compare it a little bit to work. You know, when you go to work, you start off at the bottom somewhere, maybe as a receptionist, the way I started at the workforce, and then slowly you move yourself up as you get better, as you get more experience, as you get more confident. It's the same thing with the relationships. When you start off, your relationships usually are not as strong or as impactful or as nurturing or as spiritual as you want them to be. But every relationship will bring you closer to what you want, what you don't want, and to know what you want. So, and closer emotionally, spiritually, and intellectually, and energetically, which people don't recognize, energetically, to attract that person that's more like you. And every relationships brings us closer. The more we grow, the more our relationship and the people we manifest into our life grows to a better quality, if you want to put it that way.
You wrote me that you think we need to live in awe. What do you mean by that?
So at the end of the day, know that something that's meant to be for you is going to happen. So don't think, oh my God, I should have done this, I should have done that. Of course, choices, make your reality. But at the end of the day, if something's meant to be for you, if something's meant to come to you, you can't screw it up. It's going to come. The universe is somehow going to make it happen to you. So just sit back and kind of enjoy the journey, enjoy the universe, enjoy the world, and live in awe and say, hey, you know what? Life is a fun adventure. I wonder what's going to happen tomorrow. I wonder who I'm going to meet tomorrow. I wonder what's going to happen with this relationship or with that, and where I'm going to be maybe in 5 years. And of course, we have plans, and it's okay to do all that. But at the end of the day, instead of getting anxiety and feeling bad or lonely, take a deep breath, sit back and say, I'm okay with this. It's okay. I might be single, I might be with someone right now, but it's okay. This is an adventure, it's a journey, and I'm enjoying it. So it's important sometimes to consciously sit back and catch yourself, because we all, have anxiety. We all have, get in our heads too much. So it's important at times to just catch ourselves and bring ourselves back and enjoy the journey and live in awe, not knowing. I do cards, as you know, card reader, but I don't know what everything's going to happen. And even the cards sometimes don't tell you what's going to happen, because the universe doesn't want you to know, because then the adventure is gone. All the fun is gone out of it. So it's a lot of times just to trust, believe, and have faith that everything will be okay, because at the end of the day, it will. If you look back in your life, everything has a way of working out.
Maria Fudas, thank you so much for joining us this evening on Valentine's Day. Really appreciate the inspiration. Appreciate the words of wisdom in regards to relationships, that no relationship is a failure, that each one teaches you something and helps you grow and become the person that you are. I love this attitude about living in awe. Enjoy the journey. Don't sweat the small stuff. I do think, and again, I'm repeating the line, but I think everyone is in your life for a season, a reason, or a lifetime. And too often we think if it's not a lifetime, it's not perfection. And maybe it's not perfection, but it's not helpful. And I think every relationship that I've had has been very helpful, whether it's been for a lifetime or not, and has been wonderful and has helped me grow and has helped me become the person I am. And I treasure them. And I think we need to have that attitude. And so I really want to thank you. Maria Fudas, transformational coach, assertiveness coach, author of the book, Connect with Yourself and Others. Really appreciate it. Happy Valentine's Day.
Thanks, Brian. Happy Valentine's Day.
That's our show for tonight, everybody. I hope everyone, whether you're with someone tonight or on your own, you have a happy Valentine's Day and you have a life where that you can, as Maria said, live in awe. Sounds like a pretty good attitude toward life. Good night, everybody.